Welcome to New Life Live with host and founder of New Life Ministries, Stephen Arterburn. For 35 years, New Life has been transforming lives one at a time thanks to the giving hearts of you, our listeners. Our goal is to provide you with wisdom from God's Word to give you hope and help in life's hardest places. If you have a question you'd like to ask today, our phone lines are open. Call 1-800-229-3000. That number again is 1-800-229-3000. Now here's Steve.
Hello and welcome to New Life Live. We actually have Becky Brown sitting in for Steve. I am Alice Benton and Chris Williams is here with me in studio.
Yes, Alice, how you doing?
Oh, well, delighted to be here with you, Chris.
All right.
Becky too.
Yeah, so Becky, when we get the technology worked out on that, but Becky was going to prompt us with something.
That's right. We want to talk about when you wonder and you believe God could never use me because you know all the mistakes you've made, you know all of your shortcomings, and what do we do with that kind of belief and struggle?
Okay, so I'm going to twist this a little bit. When it says, God could never use me, and what I want to say to that is correct. That is correct.
Wait a second, I didn't expect you to say that.
Right? That is exactly right. Because God doesn't use us. God relates to us. God connects to us. God values us. God loves us. And God works with us to accomplish his purposes on planet Earth. And so we, as we enter into that life, we think we have an option, but we don't. There isn't, for instance, shame plays such a central role in all of this because shame wants to put an identity on us. And let me go to one of the primary shame messages. One of the primary shame messages is, I don't matter, right? Now, to be used is a person to say that like, oh no, you matter, but only if you can give something productive or valuable to the world. So that is using somebody. Or productive or valuable to me. You know, the objectification of women through sexuality, the objectification of people through their financial resources. God doesn't use people like that. God values people. And out of that value, he partners with them to do something significant. So going back to I don't matter, well, we don't get the option. We're going to matter for something one way or the other. We're going to matter for good or we're going to matter for evil. But the choice is, what are we going to matter for? Right? To say I don't matter is such a destructive pathway. Because if I don't matter, you don't matter, and guess what happens? We participate in the harm and the pain and the evil in the world from that place. And that is the pain that oftentimes happens to us that wants to tell us that we don't matter. We then offload that pain. We transmit it. And it's not until we get into a transformative process that we learn that we do matter and we don't get the option, but we start mattering for the right things. And we realize that just by existing and moving in the world, God starts moving through us and we are participating in his great works.
Well, you know, I'm participating finally. I know that it was a little bit of a hiccup, but boy, Chris, that is really profound and in so many ways. Alice, did you want to add anything else at the end of this?
I sure do, because this hits home for me as well. Aren't I too broken? I'm not smart enough. I'm not fill in the blank enough for God to be able to use me. But God loves broken people and delights in allowing us to be part of the redemption story. That's why Gideon is one of my favorite heroes of the Old Testament, because whether you've been involved in prostitution, murder, infidelity, lying, the list goes on and on. Those are characteristics of the heroes of the Old Testament. God can minister to people through our brokenness and seems to do so best when we know we're broken.
It is some of the best stories that you will ever hear are the after stories of how God has worked in somebody's life. That's what we are here for at New Life. We love to hear those stories, and we're so confident that God will work in your story. We're going to take some calls after this break. You can call us 1-800-229-3000. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Alice, and we'll be right back.
My husband was involved with a pornography addiction. He was unfaithful. I called the wedding off. He stepped out on the marriage and ended up having a child.
The Restore Workshop is designed for a woman dealing with a man's sexual addiction issues.
My husband is a recovering sex addict. We're strip clubs, other ladies.
If you've been affected by betrayal, an emotional or physical affair, or pornography, the Restore Workshop will equip you with support and tools to help you through.
Restore has empowered me and has given me the tools to work through my anger, work through my pain, work through my confusion, and help me realize that I am worthy.
Being here and being surrounded by people who get it has given me my power back.
The Restore Workshop is being held online Saturday, June 10th. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more. That's 1-800-639-5433 or online at newlife.com.
Thank you, Restore. You have changed my life forever.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are back. It's Becky Brown with Chris Williams and Dr. Alice Benton. Sorry for that hiccup earlier, but it's amazing that we can connect through technology, and sometimes it doesn't want to cooperate. But we are so grateful for those of you who are listening in all different kinds of ways, whether it's YouTube or our podcast, our app. There's just so many ways that you can hear the program, and we're glad that you are there listening. And right now we are going to go to the calls, and we're going to talk with Mary, who's calling from Boston, Massachusetts, listens on Sirius XM. Hi, Mary. Thanks for calling. How can we help you today?
Hi. I'm trying to condense this as much as I can. It's kind of a long story, but my husband and I cannot communicate at all. It's always been that way. He has a really bad anger problem, and he also he's had a drug problem for 15 years. We've only been together for just under 3, and he recently started going to church with me, and God delivered us from a really bad situation. And I kind of thought once we started going to church together and things like that, things would change, but they haven't. I still can't talk to him, and we have an agreement that we won't talk to other people about our personal life. I actually just was able to tell my parents about when he had relapsed for a while. I had no one to go to. I had to go through that by myself. And now I'm back in the same situation because I can't talk to anybody about any of the struggles that we're having, and I can't talk to him. So I just feel very isolated and alone, and I've been praying and praying and praying, literally just begging God for some guidance and some help. And I know that he delivered me before, and I believe that he will again. But in the interim, I really just don't know what to do. We're going to meet with our pastor in a few days, but he can't see us for a few days, and it's just uncomfortable for me, and I'm lonely, and I'm sad, and I just don't know what to do.
Oh, gosh, Mary, our heart goes out to you. It is such a difficult situation, and one of the challenges that you're experiencing is the lie that you can't tell anybody. Mm-hmm. And we want to shore that up for you so that you can know that you're not doing this alone, and we're so glad you called. Chris, let's start with you, and how can we help Mary in this dire situation?
Well, to echo what you said, Becky, is that, Mary, you entered into a very, very damaging agreement with your husband to say that you guys won't talk about your problems with other people. And so this is a much broader category, but I want to say this for everyone listening out there. One of the best ways to support your marriage is to have people outside, safe people outside the marriage to talk to and to help support. Mary, is your husband actively using right now?
No, he's not.
Okay.
He's it's just, but even when it's just his behaviors. Even when he was sober for a while, he has a lot of anger issues, and he's not someone that I can really talk to.
Yeah.
It's just
so what? Can I ask, what was his drug of choice, or what is his drug of choice?
It was opioids, fentanyl.
Ooh,
that's
okay.
been an ongoing thing, like 15 years.
Okay. Okay. So this is really, really crucial. The addictive nature of those, it's not a secret. We know that those are really, really, really strong. And there is a lot that goes on here. It's maybe a little bit too complex for me to do too deep of a dive on the radio. However, I want to say this. Typically, we go to opioids to cover pain. But what opioids also do is they create the pain that they cover.
Mm-hmm. I'm not even really concerned about, I mean, that's a big issue, but we have people to help us through that.
No. Hold on. Your husband's work is way beyond sobriety, is what I'm trying to get to. Right? I
know that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and so you're going to need to have a lot of boundaries around him and the anger and the what we call the emotional dysregulation that he's going to necessarily have to go through if he's going to get sobriety, long-term sobriety and true recovery. Now, you're carrying inside of you the effects of the damage, right? And
well, it just he started. He works a lot, and he's an amazing provider. But
hold on, whoa!
He doesn't have any time for.
Nope. He's not an amazing provider. That's a denial mechanism that you're participating in. You know, this idea that, like, I'm going to be honest, men as providers and that equals an ATM machine is offensive to me as a man.
Well, I don't want it to be like that.
I know. This is why I want to reframe it for you, Mary. You need a person that can show up to you emotionally and relationally and talk through difficult things. You can feel the fear and the chaos inside of you. So, Mary, I mention all of this because this is not right now. This is not about what your husband needs. What you need is strong, deep recovery. You need to get into.
I want us to be able to talk.
Oh, hold on. That's a ways off. Right now, you have to get emotionally safe. To be able to do that, you're going to have people who aren't your husband come around you and support you and work through that fear and chaos that you're carrying on inside of you. So there's two things I want to quickly recommend. And I want to recommend that you get into therapy that has a specialty in addiction, and especially loved ones of addicts. And then secondly, I want you to get into an Al-Anon group so that you can have a group of people that have a similar experience of you, and some of those people down the road who can guide you into your own recovery process, where the effects of your husband's behavior and addiction doesn't affect you so much.
And you know, Mary, you could go to an Al-Anon group today. Like this is not something that you have to wait to do, and that it could make all the difference in the world in just kind of restabilizing what you are experiencing. Alice, how can you help Mary in this process?
Mary, I praise you that you have broken that vow of silence, and you're doing so again now. I suspect that your husband may be not using, but I don't know that he's fully into recovery yet. And it must have been devastating that going to church, God didn't do a miracle of full healing for your husband of his anger and his inability to communicate. And I think the reason that Chris keeps going back to the deeper work that needs to be done is because if you're not physically and emotionally safe, it's not yet time to work on some of those communication skills. You have to get to a place of safety first. Your body sounds like it's on fire. I'm hearing you breathing. I'm hearing your tears flowing. And Mary, I think the sirens are going off in you, that life feels very dangerous right now, and home feels dangerous because your husband's anger is still dangerous. Is it fair to put it that way? Does home feel so unsafe to you a lot of the time?
No, it just feels lonely. Like I don't have anyone to talk to. Like it's as long as it's just kind of like, as long as I just stick to my regular, like, you know, I'm the caretaker, he's the provider, it's fine. But if I ask, like, you know, maybe we could not have phones on, or maybe we could just like spend some time together. Like I'm just lonely, and I don't. Like I said, I don't have anyone.
Oh, Mary, hold on. We're gonna get you connected with a counselor in your area, and maybe even a women's shelter. Not because you have to leave, but the isolation that you are experiencing is part of the problem. You heard him when he said you can't tell anybody. And it's literally the worst thing for you to do is not tell anybody. And we want to give you some support. We are going to get you connected with a therapist in that area. Both Chris and Alice are right on target with there is a process. Al-Anon would be a great next step. There's so much that has to be done. And we really we always want it to be simple. If he would just, and then fill in the blank. Or if this would just change, or when we go talk to the pastor, and it's so much more complex than that, but it's not impossible. We've seen amazing things. So we're going to pray for you, Mary, and we're going to get you connected with a counselor.
And Becky,
Alice?
God and a pastor are certainly part of the answer. And yet there is also the structured recovery 12-step process in addition to the church angle of things that is necessary when an addiction has been at such a severe level, and the use of opioids. It needs that structure of professional help out in addition to church and in addition to the pastor's help.
Very true, because the fentanyl will also change your brain structure. And so he's not even in his right mind at this point, because of that.
Well,
Chris?
Neurologically, it takes about 18 months, if you're doing opioids and fentanyl, for that brain to restore itself, if it can, back to full functioning. That's quite a while.
And anger often increases during early sobriety when the body's still going through withdrawal.
Without a doubt, because the body is rebelling against sobriety. It's rebelling against its lack of comfort. So irritability and edginess, anger, is probably the number one withdrawal symptom of it.
That's right.
In addition to that, is that my guess is that Mary also grew up in a home of addiction. And her abandonment wounds, her emotional abandonment wounds, are getting torn open over and over and over again. Her husband will not be able to address those wounds in her. He just won't be able to do it. That's why she needs that community of other people who can.
We can't say it enough, can we? The connection piece is essential for all of us. And it doesn't matter if you're in a situation like we just heard, or if you just recognize that you are not connected with people who hear you, who can see you. It is very important in your life work. I mean, it just is. We're so grateful that she called, and we're going to get her connected with help. We're going to go on to another call. Judy's calling us from Louisville, Kentucky, and listens on Pure Radio, or maybe it's television, but we're glad you called. Judy, how can we help you today?
Hi, I have a 33-year-old daughter that's been diagnosed with bipolar, and she started studying the Bible with me and decided that her bipolar was a demon instead of bipolar, and took herself off her bipolar medication. And when she was deep in studying in the Bible, she was actually doing pretty good, much to my surprise. But she's gotten away from the Bible now, and I see all the signs of her bipolar coming back. And I'm not sure where to turn to.
That is a struggle. Alice, let's start with you.
Would you describe your relationship with her? How close are the two of you, and does she live with you?
I live with her. I lost my husband to cancer 5 years ago. She has 2 children with autism, so I came to help her. She wasn't doing very well. She was sick a lot, and so I came to help her, and I was studying the Bible, just to get my own grief. And she started joining my study and, really took off with it, started introducing me to all these programs that I hadn't heard, preachers on the radio, on YouTube that I didn't know about. And I did not know she took herself off this medication. She didn't tell me until it was like 6 months in. And I was really surprised how well she was doing. I mean, she really did change everything about her. I mean, she used to cuss a lot. She didn't cuss anymore. She was starting to, show a lot of attention to her children, but she met somebody recently. Her focus is all on him, and she's placed God on the back burner.
Judy, where is the father of her children?
Neither one is involved. One is incarcerated for the next 25 years. The other one is drug addicted. and does not have anything to do with his son.
And Judy, when you point out that you're starting to see concerning symptoms again and you wonder about getting back on medication, what's her response to you?
I just get evil stares, hated, just starts yelling at me. We were having a great relationship, and now I can't even say 2 words to her without setting her off.
Oh, how frightening
Judy,
for you and the kids. Yep.
You can hear the music. We're going to go to a break, and then we'll come back and give you some direction. It is tough. It's like you just said, Alice. It's just a terrible situation for you, Judy, and for the kids. But I think we can begin a process that's going to help in some way. That's just a challenge. We'll be right back after this. If you're holding on, we'll get to your call. Don't go anywhere.
For most of my life, I've been dealing with an opiate addiction.
Why is opioid addiction quickly becoming one of our nation's biggest killers? Maybe it's because it isn't only those who are addicted who are in denial.
We did what I see so many parents do, is it can't be an addiction. There's something medically wrong.
It's impossible to solve a problem when you don't know what you're up against, and families will try to find any explanation except the one that will put them on the right path.
Alcoholism and drug addiction is a family disease. It doesn't affect just the individual.
If someone you love is abusing painkillers, know what you're up against. It's time to admit it's addiction and seek treatment. Call us today at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. We have Christ-centered partner treatment centers around the country. Call 1-800-639-5433 or visit us online at newlife.com.
We just made a decision. We will do whatever it takes.
1-800-NEW-LIFE.
I was sort of vaguely familiar that the 12 steps had some origination in the Bible. I found Life Recovery, and one of the things I liked so much was that it had such a broad appeal. It wasn't limited to just alcohol or drugs, that it was addressing a wide range of problems.
At New Life, we believe everyone can benefit from a life recovery experience. There are life recovery groups all over the country. They take place online, in conference calls, and in person. And if there isn't one in your area, we can help you start one. We have startup materials, leaders' guides, CDs, Bibles, and more, all with discounts available for groups. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE and ask for Terry Ward. The 12 Steps have long been a great help to people in recovery because much of the 12 Steps' power comes from the fact that they capture principles clearly revealed in the Bible.
The 12 Steps is really a pattern for all of us as Christians.
Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a question or a comment, call toll-free 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are taking calls at 1-800-229-3000. And right now we are talking with Judy, who's concerned about her daughter. It's real and it's a struggle. She has bipolar disorder and has decided she doesn't need to take her medicine, but there's all kinds of fallout from that. Alice, you were in process with her. Do you want to continue or you have more questions for Judy?
Judy, do you know, is your daughter able to be concerned for her children? And are they in the space that she's in right now with the bipolar process? Do her children and their safety matter to her right now?
They do. She does take care of them. I fill in the blanks a lot. For instance, I get the youngest one up into therapy every day. And, she used to do that, but now she doesn't roll out of bed until 10 o'clock or so. And I get the older one up who's being homeschooled. I get him on, school, and so I'm the one that's keeping things going. And so I'm afraid to leave. I'm not here permanently. I'm just here. I only came to help out, but that helping out has turned into like a year and a half, 2 years now of helping out.
Well, now you're enabling.
I was afraid of that.
I know. It's easy to do. We all do it. And you're not doing it from a bad place. You're doing it from a really, really good place. But what this does is it keeps the problem alive where it never has to be addressed. And then that's where we know that, and that we've crossed over from helpfulness to enabling, is that enabling helps the problem survive and maybe even thrive, unfortunately. And so I think that looking into what are the boundaries I need to have around my daughter and the actions that we need to take. Because, Judy, you're going to end up raising these two children right now. As it exists, if nothing changes, they are your children now, not hers.
Yes.
Right? Okay. So you have to take radical action with your daughter. And I don't know if this will be helpful at all. I don't know what she can hear and receive and follow through with. But when people are caught in this thing of waiting for the supernatural miracle, I let them know, man, there is a really historical belief system that is rooted in church history, and it's called common grace and uncommon grace. Common grace is the grace that God has already embedded into his creation and through human beings. Medical advancement that saves and preserves lives and increases quality of life is a common grace. Everything's from God. It's in a way, it's an expression of his miracles. And then there's uncommon grace, where God breaks in a miraculous way into our lives. And for some of us, we are missing out on God's common grace and the miracle that he's already embedded around us. You know, I want God to save me from my overeating, and God has created healthy food. Right? Now, it's more complex than that for sure. But the common grace of therapy, the common grace of medication, those are all expressions of God's goodness if we allow it to be. And that's where I would really approach her on that she needs to be back on her meds, that this is part of the goodness that she's a part of in the world. And she needs to take care of her children, because you're not going to be there 24/7 to take care of them.
That's true. Well, Alice, do you have anything else for Judy?
Well, Judy, when we have an adult child who is refusing to get the help that they so obviously need, there are a couple of steps that we can take, but our power and our influence are so limited. So you already took the right first step, which is pointing out the problem and gently asking that your daughter do something different about it. As she seems to be refusing to do anything different about it, then we have to move into intervention and leverage. We have some great interventionists that we can get you connected with, because they help strategize which voices are strongest in your daughter's life that might possibly help you to influence her by pointing out what they're seeing. And that may be the boyfriend, if he's at all healthy, a decent human being, maybe a pastor or women from the group, people who have known her and loved her. Sometimes when there's a multitude of voices, we better hear it than just our parents' voice telling us that they're concerned about us. Then if the children are going to be at risk of neglect, and I hear that you homeschool one of the children, and I'm sure that it's difficult for your daughter to maintain that, we sometimes have to take it to the extent of, if you will not get help, I'll have to take action to protect these children. And that may be involving their social worker, which they may have, or their therapist, or calling Child Protective Services. You don't want to do that if you don't have to, but we have to take extreme measures if our adult children won't take care of themselves and our grandchildren are endangered because of it.
That's good. That's good. Well, Judy, you're a loving mother. And like Chris said, sometimes the enabling is understood. We're going to send you a copy of Understanding and Loving a Person with Bipolar Disorder. I think that'll help you in the process.
And keep on the radar, Alice, that Courageous Parents is coming up in September in the fall, but keep it on your calendar, online September 30th, Courageous Parents Workshop.
There you go. All right. Thank you so much. Now we're going to go and we're going to talk with Ann, who's calling us from Dallas and listens on KWRD. And you can hear the music, so we're going to have to take a break before you even begin to talk. Isn't that, I just hate when that happens. But you know what? We're going to give you all the time in the world on the other side of this break, and we're going to help you. It's just amazing that we get to connect with you through the calls, through the workshops, through the different ways that New Life ministers to people. And we're grateful because people who are giving are helping us do that. And for a gift of any amount this month, we will send you a copy of Dr. Henry Cloud's newest book called Trust. And I know Chris and I were on the program with him last week, and it's a profound plan to understand how trust operates in our life and what to do when we've lost trust with our relationships and how to get it back. So if you want to give to New Life, we will send you that. You'll make a difference, and it will help you too.
New Life Ministries saved my completely broken marriage.
This is Steve Arterman. Do you feel like your marriage is broken? New Life can help. Our Intimacy and Marriage Workshop examines the various types of intimacy, spiritual, emotional, and physical, as well as the challenges of experiencing true intimacy.
The next Intimacy and Marriage Workshop is July 28th to the 30th in Washington, D.C. Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE to find out more or go to newlife.com. 1-800-639-5433.
Don't settle for a miserable marriage or even one that's just okay. It's possible to have that great marriage you always want.
3.5 years later, we're still going strong, and I would encourage really anybody who's struggling in their marriage to go to a New Life workshop. They are more effective than anything else we tried.
1-800-NEWLIFE.
I have given to New Life regularly because I have so many people that I am referring to New Life who so benefit from the ministry. I just can't imagine what would happen in my area if New Life wasn't available to us.
You can help New Life Live stay on the air by joining Club New Life today. When you sign up to support us monthly through Club New Life, we'll send you the new member thank you gift of all 8 100-day devotionals, including 100 Days of Prayer, 100 Days of Freedom from Depression, and 100 Days of Peace. There are also ongoing benefits like the monthly Club New Life CD or download, access to the Club New Life video library, quarterly resources, free shipping on purchased resources, discounts on workshops, and quarterly online meetings with Steve. Call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Support Club New Life, and together we can help hurting people find help and hope in life's hardest places. Call 1-800-639-5433 to join Club New Life today. We're glad you joined us for New Life Live. To be a part of the program, call 1-800-229-3000. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. We are glad that you joined us. We are going to talk to Ann, who waited so patiently on the break. Hi, Ann. How can we help you today?
Hi. I'm trying to formulate the question. I'm just a mess, to be honest with you. I have a 23-year-old son who was held at gunpoint last night.
Oh, my goodness.
At his job. And unfortunately, he was trying to help his cousin about 4 years ago to sell a phone, and between the two of them, and 2 other friends, they thought it was a good idea to go to a public place in a park. And he was also robbed at gunpoint then, and he stayed calm. And back then he made a joke of it, meaning not like he tried to minimize it is really what happened. And of course, as a mom, having lost his younger brother already to cancer.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, gosh, Ann. We're so sorry.
All over again. His brother died 5 years ago. And, just, I can't really put in words other than I think I'm just in this fear mode and my body's shaking, and I'm just trying to stay calm for him because I don't want him to feel like, I got to take care of Mom, And I'm trying to figure out how can I be of help for him other than, talk to him, hear him, just really listen.
Yeah. Well,
there was a young girl there at the place, and, he went into, I'm going to protect her because she was a high school student.
Wow.
And he's a college student. And, to have a gun in your face. And, of course, the poor girl just broke down. You can't blame her.
Yeah.
And thank God nothing serious happened. And he doesn't need to work, but it's a good thing for him to be doing at 23 because it, is a little close to, not quite full time, but as he's going to college, right? So he's doing this simultaneously. And I'm just trying to figure out, how can I really help him other than, letting him talk and, they encouraged him to go to counseling as I did. He's at first trying to say, hey, I don't want to do that. And just with multiple traumas, with the death. And then my dad passed away a year ago, who was very close to because his dad was deployed. And so my dad was always here when his dad was gone. And so there's a little bit of, some of that as well. And
So Ann, let me jump in. Here's how you can help your son. is to get into your own grief and trauma work. It is to address the hurt and the pain and the deep losses that you're carrying around in your heart. Lead by example here and say, man, I'm carrying all of this stuff that's happened to me inside of me, and it's too much for me, so I'm going to go get the help that I need. And I'm going to go seek counsel, and I'm going to go seek a good support system that helps me work through this pain that I'm carrying and this fear that I'm carrying. Because I think the expectation to show up well for your son who is in a life-threatening situation when you've already lost your other son and you've lost your dad, I mean, that's just too much to ask of you, to be honest. I think that that's borderline cruel. Now, you want to be there for your son, and I know you will be there, but I want someone to be there for you first, or as you go through this.
Nan, as we heard that you encouraged your son to get counseling, was he able to explain why he doesn't want to? Granted, this only happened yesterday, but do you know why he doesn't want counseling?
The first thing that he said was, well, it's not like I haven't had a gun in my face, and it's not like we live in a bad area or, you know, I don't know. I guess in my mind I'm trying to figure out the why, because that's what I do. And I guess he kind of minimizes that. I don't know.
And tell us, even though partly you don't know because this just happened, but how is your son's functioning? How does he seem to be doing? And since the initial robbery a couple of years ago, how has he been doing in his life?
There's anger there for sure. I don't think he went from full-time college to part-time, so that was a change. Interestingly enough, he wants to go into counseling. He's a very compassionate type person. I would say he's kind of just flowing through life, not taking it the bull by its horns, I guess.
Yeah, and you do see you do see some.
Well, Alice,
go ahead, Becky.
I want to ask one more thing, because you that was a great question, but you know, he lost his brother 5 years ago, and he was 17, right?
Yes.
So I just want to point that out.
Yeah, he did, and I wanted him to get counseling then. My daughter, she was, I don't know, 10, and they both, you know, came at my husband and I, and of course, our older son dealt with his dad's deployment to Iraq already, and Dad didn't come back so good.
There's losses after losses after losses, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, Anne, this may or may not be helpful, but you know what has made me a much, much better therapist?
What's that?
My own therapy.
And I am. I'm in a group for women.
Yeah, but you see how your son maybe want to go into counseling?
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Some of the best work that he'll ever do is the work that he does on himself.
That's a good point.
I want to make that the point, right? But the other aspect of this is that why he resists is why we all resist. You know, because we do something ridiculous as therapists. We ask people to come in and enter into the pain that they're experiencing.
Right.
None of us want to do that. None of us want to, we're not masochists. We don't want to readily move into the pain that we're trying to outrun and avoid. But there's only one way to do it, is to face it. And so there's empathy for his resistance, but there's also, what he needs to see is that there's also courage to face it. And I would even recommend, hey, let's find a family therapist.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on in the family here. Let's find a good family therapist here in the Dallas area where we can start together addressing all of the things that we're carrying inside.
I was thinking the same thing. And is that something that you would be willing to do? You know, your original question was, how can I help him? And we realized it just happened last night, but then as you kind of unfolded all of the wounds that you are all carrying, what's your response to maybe a family session or 2 or 3? or for?
Oh, I wanted to do that. Both him and my daughter have been resistant even before this happened. It's very common, I understand, for kids because we dealt 7 years and traveled all over the country, and he was part of experimental therapy and yada, 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 right? And so our kids, I tried to keep him with us always with everything, and he lost part of his senior year, and so that brought resentment. And so I do think we need that. And so I'm just trying to, some new things have happened outside of this that, I thought, this will be a good thing for us to do. And, just instead of talking about it, make sure we can do it. I work during the day and Dad works at night. And right now Dad's not in the home because of sexual integrity issues, and that's been there for a while. And we're moving forward with that.
So Ann, let me jump in. How much of your life changed when your younger son went through cancer treatment?
It was daily, hour by hour.
Okay, you have a cancer in the family right now. I don't want to. I don't want to hear. I'm sorry to be this harsh, but I don't want to hear any excuses, because that pain is only going to metastasize.
Okay.
Okay. So there's no there would be no excuses not to get the best cancer treatment for your son. There's no excuse to get the best healing and recovery treatment for the family right now.
Okay.
And you're in a great area, and we've got people in Dallas that can do exactly what you need. And for your kids that are a little resistant or apprehensive, the approach has to be, we're going to do this together. This isn't because someone's wrong or something is wrong with you. This is something for a healing process. Alice, how would you close this?
Well, if they still refuse, as your son is 23 years old, I'd also be cautious not to nag him into therapy, but rather to ask. I need to ask you about this again, whether it's in 1 week or 2, you decide, but I will bring it up again. You pick which amount of time to give him some of the decision-making power. And I also want to point out that we all go through trauma differently, and not everyone that goes through trauma is traumatized to the level of PTSD. So we also have to separate our feelings as a parent from projecting them onto our children and assuming that their pain is as bad or is exactly the same as ours. I completely agree he needs counseling, but be cautious about how much you push it if he continues to refuse, and then space it out.
Yeah, thank you so much. And our hearts are breaking for all of this, but we're going to connect you with a counselor. I'm going to send you a copy of Every Believer's Thought Life, which I think could get into that process for your son or for you. And we'll be praying for this family. We'll be right back after this.
It had become very apparent that some of the things I was involved with were taking over my life.
In today's world, men are barraged with inappropriate content and images all day, every day. Some say that certain behaviors are just no big deal. It's just part of being a guy. But it's simply not true. It's a battleground for every man, and the opportunities to fail are everywhere. New Life's Every Man's Battle Workshop can help.
After 7 years, just one weekend, a completely changed man.
For over 20 years, New Life Ministries has been helping men regain their integrity and purity through their one-of-a-kind Every Man's Battle Workshop.
He said, I think this is something that every man should go to. Married, dating, it was definitely life-changing.
The Every Man's Battle Workshop is being held online as a one-day event Saturday, May 13th. To find out more, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE or go to newlife.com.
I just can't say enough of what New Life has done for our marriage.
1-800-NEWLIFE.
Hi, this is Steve Arterburn, and for over 34 years, New Life has been the most trusted name in Christian counseling.
I'm an addict, and I'm trying to get God in my life again.
Our Christ-centered treatment programs can help you break free to embrace all that God has for your life and your family.
I just want to thank you guys for bringing me to a relationship with Jesus.
There really is help for marital problems, depression, addictions, panic attacks, and feelings of hopelessness.
I came back with so many tools to help me prepare myself to fight this struggle and this battle that I have every day.
You can start living again today, living the life God intended for you. Help is available at 1-800-NEW-LIFE.
They did care, and they did follow up very lovingly, and it made all the difference in my life.
Call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Someone who cares is waiting at the other end of the phone. God can open the door to a better tomorrow. Call 1-800-639 5433.
To find out more information about New Life or to order any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. Now back to New Life Live.
Welcome back. You know, it's really hard to hear the pain that other people are going through, but we can be confident that there is a process and a path to healing. And if you're listening to Ann's story and you're thinking, oh my goodness, that's just overwhelming. There's a lot of folks that are struggling with stuff. And that's why New Life is here. And we want to be able to help people get forward in their healing process. And so we're glad that she called. But, you know, if you're listening today and something that you've heard already is really impacting you, give us a call. We'll help you get to a process of healing. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're going to go to the phones. We're going to talk with Pat, who is calling us from Bellflower, California, watches us on YouTube. We love our YouTube family. We love all of you who are listening. Pat, how can we help you today?
Well, hi. I just want to give a praise report on how much New Life means to me and what it had done in my recovery. I don't even know how I got started with New Life listening. It could have been just by chance, but it was probably just God moving in my life and putting me in the right direction. But I did start listening to Steve Otterburn and the program, and I decided to go to Take Your Life Back in Irvine back in 2018. During that time, I was a caregiver for my parents. My mom had dementia, Alzheimer, and so I had already reached the emotional state where I felt like I no longer had a life of my own. I didn't exist, and I was just kind of wandering, and I was really depressed. So when I went to that weekend, you know, it put me on a path where it led me to recovery. When I left, it was the person that led our group was Christine Lester.
She's great.
Love Christine. Yes.
Yeah, and we all felt that she was being led by God, the way that she was able to really hit the root of a lot of the things that we would share openly in that safe environment with the group that we were with, because you know how that program separates individuals. Well, from that, you know, from there, it's interesting because when I left the program after about maybe a month or two, I lost that that hope. I was just kind of feeling because there was no follow through. There was nothing. I really didn't know what to do next, and I always thought it was God who was involved with your ministry, because I got a phone call from one of your counselors out of the blue, and I don't even remember her name. Tamara, I think it was. I don't recall. But anyway, we started talking. We started talking, and she told me about the CR groups, Celebrate Recovery groups. And she got online quickly, and she told me some that were closest to me. And so I told her, I'll take it from there, and then I can look at some of the CR groups. So with her guidance, I went ahead and found 4 CR groups that were close to me, and I just kind of checked them out. I narrowed it down to 2 that I felt it would be a safe place for me to share my problems, because I was a child abuse victim since a toddler.
Wow.
And so with that, you have a lot of, with that, you develop a lot of behavior problems.
Yeah.
And then you're filled with shame, you have interpersonal problems,
Well,
and
Pat,
you don't relate with men.
Pat, let me jump in, because I love hearing your recovery process. But if you could, in one sentence, say, before encountering New Life, my life was like this. I encountered New Life, and now it's like that. Or it was like that, and now it's like this.
Well, back, like I mentioned in the opening comments, is that I felt like I had no life. Today, my life has been completely restored and blessed. My relationship with my daughter that I did not have before, through New Life, has been completely restored.
That's amazing.
There's been a lot of emotional growth in my behavior, in which I didn't know how to relate to people, the opposite sex. Now, even in that area, I'm learning how to interact in a safe way, and it's just been healthy. I think the greatest change Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I want to hear the greatest change.
Well, I think the greatest change that happened for me is by participating, like I said, with the New Life, and then the counselors led me to the CR. The CR led me to the 12-step program. And in the 12-step program, that really leads you to the healing of your soul if you work the program.
Yes.
That's right. It works if you work it. Well, listen, Pat, you have blessed us all today with just how God has worked through the path of the process. And it's funny that you're sharing right now because Larry Soderbergh joined us in the studio, and he usually has to read a testimony, but I think you just made it easy for him.
I want Pat to keep going. I don't want to say a word. She's the poster child today. She's everything New Life tries to be.
Pat, what would you tell our listeners? Go ahead.
Well, I think what I really want to share with everybody, because I didn't think it would ever happen, through the 12th step, I got to the place where I understood what my daughter had told me, why she didn't want anything to do with me, and that was because she always felt I was never there for her emotionally, and she basically raised herself. But CR helped me realize the truth to that statement. And what it boiled down to was that because of my own emotional problems and my emotional needs and my neediness, I have put, without realizing, I was putting my unhealthy behaviors, I didn't know how to arrest those, to be there for my daughter, to raise her in a healthy way where she felt safe. I was incapable.
Yeah.
And
so Pat,
that helped me to realize that.
That's awesome. We are coming up against the end of the program, and I want you to encourage our listeners to do what you've done. You know, what would you say to somebody who's listening today who's thought about either going to a 12-step group or going to one of the workshops? What would you say to them?
Well, I would say that take a deep breath and just begin to listen to your inner self, that voice that's inside of you that is coming from God Himself, the Holy Spirit, and allow that voice to guide you to your next step of healing. And if it's a CR, Celebrate Recovery group, or a counselor, I would encourage you to take that step, because that voice will not lead you astray, because it knows what you need. We don't. It knows.
That's right. Well, we are so grateful for all that you have done in your process, and that Take Your Life Back was the beginning step. And even though we don't offer that anymore, we do offer emotional freedom. But, you know, as you're listening to Pat's testimony of her path and her process, that's what we talk about here all the time, you know, whether it is a life recovery group or whether it is a workshop counselor or whatever. But Larry, how are we able to do all of that?
Oh, what a wonderful leading question. We need your support, folks. If we didn't have support, Pat wouldn't be making this phone call today, and her life wouldn't be what it is today. And that's the effect of what you do when you give to New Life. You're touching things that are real. People's lives change. The Holy Spirit steps in. I was listening to Pat thinking, that's not Pat speaking, that's the Holy Spirit talking to our audience and encouraging them and sharing just what He has done for her.
Yes.
So we need your help. I'm always here kind of, I hate to say the word begging, but that I know you feel that way, folks, seeking your support. But I want you to do it only if you sense God's hand in it and that God's nudging you.
Well, and you know, Pat's part of our Club New Life family. We want to thank you for being part of that. And if you want to join Club New Life, you can give us a call, 1-800-NEW-LIFE, or you can go to newlife.com, whether it is to join Club New Life or make a donation. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Alice. And thank you, Larry. And thank you, callers, for calling in. If you need any help, we are here for you. 1-800-NEW-LIFE, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. We hope this program has helped you by giving you insights for handling the challenges you face in your life. We want you to know that we're here for you, but you also need to know that New Life Live is a listener-supported ministry. To make your donation or to get any of the resources mentioned on today's program, call 1-800-NEW-LIFE. That's 1-800-639-5433, or write to us at New Life Ministries, P.O. Box 1029, Lake Forest, California, 92609. Please join us again on Monday for New Life Live.
Hi, thank you for watching New Life Live. You know, New Life Live is a Christian counseling program where we deal with the hard questions about life, relationships, kids, free choice, freedom of will, whatever. It's all right there on New Life Live every day, every weekday, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. If you want to call into the live broadcast, you can find the schedule on newlife.com or click the social media link right below. You can see every episode of New Life Live on the New Life YouTube channel. Watch it with a friend, watch it later. Be sure to subscribe and hit that bell so you'll never miss another episode. So if you want to listen on the go, download the app. The link is right below. And I hope if you need some information, if you want to get some help, you'll call us at 1-800-NEW-LIFE. And I'll see you next time.